listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Get on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There's no human being on the planet I'd rather talk to right now than Nick Martinez. Back. Nick, how are you? How's it going?
I'm good. Great. Getting ready for Christmas, spending a lot of family time and training.
All right. Awesome. And you're down in Miami, so you can actually train outside. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful right now. Yeah, it's like 70 degrees outside. It's beautiful. Sorry. You're in New England, right?
Yeah. I mean, could be anywhere. It could be anywhere. I am flying out, Nick. I am flying out on December 18th to Los Angeles to get a tattoo.
Okay.
And it better be nice for at least that one day there.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
Do you have any tattoos?
No tattoos. No, my wife's got a few.
Okay, so I don't have any either. This is an arrangement that I made with Joe Kelly if they won the World Series. Baseball's and boring tattoos. Yeah, baseball. You can get one if you want. If you want to get a baseball's and boring tattoo, it's like all the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah.
But a t-shirt. You still have the t-shirt?
I still have the t-shirt. Have the t-shirt. I'll be rocking that before I do the tattoo. Yeah.
It's a good t-shirt, man. It as long as it fits. So
yeah.
I appreciate you. So we had I think the last time I hadn't talked to you in over a year, certainly since you went to the Reds. So congratulations on everything.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
And so let me just start here where, when I talk to you with Padres, you go to the Reds, and it's a cliche question, but I think it's a good question for you because you have evolved. Like you've evolved from Rangers to Japan to back in the United States, and I love you talking about your changeup. You're the Vulcan grip, right? Yeah, I mean one of the rare Vulcan grip changeup guys. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last year, Nick, how have you evolved? How would you describe your evolution?
Man, it's been a wild roller coaster. So, I think we just have to preface it by saying that. I had a lot of learning to do, right? And a lot of growing up to do. I always knew that I could pitch at the big league level. And so I think, really believing in that and having that as my anchor, kept me, with that growth mindset. And along the way, I lost that mindset, right? And I think it happens to a lot of players where they get sent up and down. And they kind of go through the ugly side of baseball, the business side where, you're burning options and, you're not, it's a little bit more than just helping a team win, right? There's a lot that goes into it. And I didn't really handle that part of the game very well. And, I got knocked off my horse, sort of say, right? Mentally. I was always, I felt like I was mentally strong, right? And that was really the first time where I kind of fell off the horse and I found myself in Japan and, during that time being sent up and down, I lost that growth mindset and, it didn't look for ways to get better and was a little bit stubborn in my progress. And so I found myself in Japan, right? What was going into arbitration, my first year of arbitration in 2017 with Texas and got non-tendered and, found myself in Japan, and it was in Japan where, that fire, that passion came back and, a team that really, they relied on me to perform and to show up in Japan, it's every week. So, I was pitching as a starter once a week. And so that reignition, reactivated that growth mindset. And, I just started looking for ways to get better. And for me, it was learning the analytics of baseball and how it applies to me. And being in Japan, a very old school, very fundamental and old school way of playing baseball, but at still a very high level. And so I thought, hey, if I can show that I can pitch at this level and do well in this league, then I can come back into the States. And so after my first year, I just went with, what I thought, okay, let me pitch to weak contact. Let me, I know the scouting report. I know I'm learning the league. I'm learning, how hitters think and what their approach is. And so I had a good year, but didn't come back. Right. I still had the same split offers, and going back to how I viewed myself, I still, knew I could be a major league pitcher, and from day one to through October, and help a team win a World Series and be one of those guys a team can rely upon. And I didn't want a split contract. And so after that first season in Japan, I was at a crossroads where, hey, I can, it was the first time I'm making some good money, and I can just stay here in Japan and have a career in Japan, which is great. A lot of guys do it, and you can make some money, and you're playing baseball, and Japan loves their baseball, so you're playing in packed stadiums, and that was certainly not a bad route to go, but not where I wanted to be. Right, I grew up wanting to be a major league baseball player, and so I was at the crossroads, like, do I stay here and just be content with where I'm at, or do I start learning the analytics, and obviously that's where the game was going, and where it's at now. And so I started teaching myself. I worked with Casey Maholan, who runs Connecticut Pro Baseball in Tampa, and he was teaching me the basics of analytics, and just having conversations with him, going on YouTube. I'd listen to different guys on YouTube talking about analytics. There's one that's I can forget the YouTube channel now, but it's with the brain. The logo has a brain and a baseball.
Yeah.
And I would watch their videos and teach myself, and then start to apply it. And then in 2019, I started to get the ball rolling with that. I started having a good understanding, applying it to spring training, and getting the results I wanted. But then I got hurt in spring training. I ramped up. My throwing program wasn't quite there. It wasn't a good, it was a good throwing program, but I pushed it back. And then when I got to spring training, just the excitement of spring training, probably the effort level was too high, and I hurt my elbow in 2019. So I didn't play at all in 2019. And then 2020 came, and again, just still learning about the analytics. It was a COVID year, but then I had to learn a different side of analytics, of knowing when is the right time, right? Because I learned all this, the information is great. Analytics can be great, but it's just a tool. And if you're not using it properly,
right,
just like any other tool, it can be hurtful. And so that was my year in 2020, right? I was, in love with all these different numbers and analytics, but I was chasing that constantly. I was chasing the wrong stuff constantly. And so I didn't have a great year. And then and I learned, there's a time and place for it. And so going into the 2021 season, I set aside my, that off season. I set aside, okay, the first 3 weeks, I'm going to really work on my mechanics and learn my mechanics, and have a good understanding of, biomechanically what my body's doing, and how I can get better and efficient. And then the next 3 weeks would be, pitch design, and whatever pitches I want to work on. Really chase the numbers, right? Here, spend 3 weeks chasing all the numbers you want, and have fun with it. And, I was really honing in my repertoire, while also, finding some new ones, right? Some new pitches. And so, that's what I did going into 2021. And then those last 3 weeks, or so before the season, was, flipping that mindset to a competitive mindset, right? Okay, I'm done chasing numbers. Now let's get that competitive mindset going. Let's face some hitters. Let's attack the zone. Let's be aggressive in the zone. Work on command. And then that was a year I really put it all together, and find myself back in the States for 2022. And now there's, you get back into the States, and a different style hitter, right? Obviously it's a different game. And so, I had to make some, readjustments in that aspect. And then, and now it's, I'm having fun with it, whether I'm with the Padres or Reds. I'm finding new ways and how teams decide to attack players, and what information they use. And now I can mix all the stuff that I've learned from the past, and all the new stuff that I'm learning with the Reds, and really just kind of make sure I don't lose that growth mindset, and two, that competitiveness, to go out there every day and compete.
First of all, anyone who has aspired to become a pitcher, especially, should listen to what you just said. Like, this is the lesson, right? And I asked you, I used the word evolution, and that was the epitome of evolution. But that was that you have to have, you said, the growth mindset. You have to think, oh well, I have figured it out, and no, you have goals. You're figuring it out. You go, and you've landed where you've landed. And then another interesting part of it is once you get back to the States, you get with the Padres, and I talked to our friend Rich Hill when he went to the Padres there, and it's funny because he said he learned a lot in that month and a half, 2 months with the Padres, and the Dodgers obviously get a lot of street cred, and rightfully so, for helping pitchers, and there's other teams too, but sometimes we don't lump in like teams like the Padres. But when he said that, I'm like, well, they must be doing something right, and that was probably one of the things that you latched on to as well. And again, you were in the middle of it, I wasn't, so I would imagine that really helps, sort of like you talked about this growth mindset. If there's people there who have the tools and the willingness to help you grow, that was a big step for you, I would imagine, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Ruben is great, man, with all aspects, and he knows how to articulate it for wherever you're at in your in your journey, or wherever you're at in your career, pitching wise, and to be able to digest what he's saying. Right, he does a really good job explaining, pitch design, mechanics, pitch sequencing, scouting reports. Like he does a really good job with that, and I think proof is in the pudding, right? The Padres have had a really solid pitching staff since he's been there, and so I love working with Ruben, Ben Fritz, and Pete Somerville, bullpen catcher who does all the reports there, and those guys do a phenomenal job getting their guys ready. And so when I joined the Reds, it was at the beginning, I was like, oh crap, what am I gonna what am I walking into? Am I gonna have to continue doing what I did in San Diego? And I try to, obviously, for me at least, I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, going into the Reds, for the first year in spring, I was still holding on to the way the Padres did their scouting reports, and how to kind of paint that picture and tell that story for, to how I want to attack guys. And I was still holding on, and a little bit you could see that in my season with the Reds last year. In the beginning, I got beat by some bad luck, and but my ERA wasn't great, and I was getting knocked around a little bit. There were some games where I got knocked around. There's some games I was getting beat by bad luck, and then for me personally, it was when we were in San Francisco around Mother's Day, and I really sat down. I was like, how help me understand how you guys are doing your scouting reports so that I can really buy in, or just I can digest it and see how they can paint a picture, right? And then from then on, I started to groove and get into a nice rhythm. And so I think that's a big part of getting ready for a season, right? And so, going back to the Reds, now I can kind of hit the ground running when we get to spring training and stare or help any of the younger guys.
That's really interesting, because it's not like I've talked to pitchers where they went from one team to another and said, we had nothing, we had none of this, or I went to this team and they don't have what I left behind. Yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth. It sounded like there's good stuff in both, right? There's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Padres.
Yeah, no
but
doubt.
It's also the key to anything with baseball now is disseminating the information of being able to digest the information, implement the information. And it's honestly, I hadn't ever heard that, where you had a lot of stuff, but the scouting report, the way it was presented, was so different that you were having a hard time getting your head around it.
Just hard for me to see the picture, right, and see the story that they were trying to tell, and hitters' weaknesses and strengths, and put together a plan. And so, there's going to be a little bit of confusion and miscommunication maybe, and there's going to be times where the flow is not going to be as good, right? Where I got into a pretty good system in San Diego, we got into a groove, and you can see that in San Diego too. My first few starts and first month or so with the team, coming back to the States and and kind of using this information and reacting to what hitters are doing is a bit of an adjustment. And I think ultimately for me is I know I can make the adjustment, whatever the adjustment is. I believe in my abilities, mental or physical, that I can make adjustments and evolve with this league.
So the Mother's Day thing, what do you just wake up and say, listen, we gotta talk about this? Like
I had been going into games, prepared. I like to be prepared. If you ask around, I mean, I do a ton of homework, and I'll talk to guys and get their perspective on hitters and teams and whatnot. And so I really like to feel prepared going into an outing, whether it be starting or relieving. And so I felt good, but not great going into my games. I felt confident about, but it was like just something missing a little bit, right? Like, well, I just didn't feel well-rounded, I would say probably is the best way to describe it, going into these games. And so I sat down with Alone, one of our pitching coaches, and we sat down and we broke down, and he went step by step of what this information is telling and what it means. And so I felt really confident on how to attack guys, and I cleaned up how I did my scouting reports. Now I cleaned it up, and I used some of how Luke Maley, I talked to him a little bit and how he prepared and how he got the information and how he put it. I carry a card in my hat, on the inside of my hat, I carry the scouting report so I can take a quick glance at it, in sticky situations, right? So
do pitchers, I don't I'll feel do pitchers do that much?
I do it. I mean,
I don't feel like obviously we have the outfielders or whoever, the infielders.
Right, they're checking their positioning.
Right, but I don't remember seeing a lot of pitchers.
I got 10 seconds. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of guys. I do it, and some guys may carry it in their back pocket. And I mean, there's no rules against it, right? So I'm just taking a quick glance at the scouting report.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
I got 10 seconds to look at it. Why not be that much more prepared, right? So, the worst feeling I'm telling you, the worst feeling a pitcher can have is throwing a pitch without conviction and then losing the game or giving up some runs off that pitch that you weren't fully convicted in. And so, for me, it's and it happens, right? We become boneheaded and we'll still fall into that trap sometimes. But if I can throw a pitch with 100% conviction, then I'm gonna bet on myself, right? I'm gonna hitter's always at a disadvantage. So
you get to the end of the year. You get to the end of the year and through all of this, like we talk, your journey. Like the journey of learning and where you've landed, and then you land, and you must have been like, okay, because also like you had, we're going to get to the business side of things in a second, but you also must have been like, oh, this is, it's good. I'm landing in a pretty good place. It still want to do better. I would imagine, like we all want to do better.
Yeah.
But you must felt like, were you able to take a deep breath at the end of the year, the last game, and just like, okay, it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, sometimes I'll look back and like, man, like I started off just saying, it's been a roller coaster, right? And I feel blessed that, every time I think about it. And so sometimes I'll stop and think about it. Yeah, where I'm like, man, it's been a crazy journey. I don't want to harp on it too long, right? Because then you kind of, maybe subconsciously you're kind of letting up, and I'm not ready to let up yet. So, I'll enjoy a quick moment, but then it's, I don't want to feel complacent either, right? I don't want to feel like I've figured things out. I haven't, right? I don't have a 0 for a whole season. If the pitcher who can throw an entire season without giving up a run, which I would say has it figured out, And there's guys that have come close, right? And there's definitely guys that have been on the insane runs for their whole career. When you look at, Clayton and Verlander and those guys and others. So, for me, it's they've been able to do it their whole careers, and maybe I've got to it late, but there's no why can't I be at the top of my game for the rest of my career, right? I mean, that's how I look at it. So
and again, like you're right, it doesn't matter when you get to it. It's you get to it. And if you think that's 75% of the way you're going to be, whatever it is, like to your point, and we just articulated how far you've come, and I want to congratulate you on that. But another sense of tangible congratulations was the business side of this, Nick. Like honestly,
right.
I mean, this this is the highest compliment that a lot of players can get, which was the ability when a team offers you a qualifying offer. That is saying that you are an elite player. That's just how it is. And so I do want to, because I think people are interested in the business side of how this works. So you had an option which you declined, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But that was right. That was right after the year. So,
yeah.
So how does that work in terms of where you have to sort of get a feel for where the team's going, where you're at, all that, because you're focused on pitching. We've just talked all this about pitching, and now you have to reset and focus on, all right, this is another sort of, I don't want to say game that we got to play, but something we got to figure out.
Yeah,
take me through how that was at the end of the year.
Yeah, so I mean, I during the year, I fight myself not to think about it. Right, my mind may go there at times, especially towards the end of the year, and I think when my mind goes there for me personally, I start chasing something that is not why I play this game, right? You know, I play because I love and I want to win, you know, and if I can keep my focus on those things, everything else will take care of itself. And so for me, as soon as the season ends and now we get into the business side, I really rely on my agent to kind of guide me in that direction. And you know, I'm with Boris, and he has probably the most resources that any agent has, and he's able to, you know, see the market and you know, a plan and give me the best advice so that I can make the best decision for my family going into it, right? And so for us, it was, I wasn't sure, you know, halfway through the year, you know, 3/4 of the year, if I was going to opt out, you know, like I told the guys at the Cincinnati reporters, Mark and Gordon and Charlie and them and you know, Trenton, just I'm here for 2 years, you know. But when I signed this contract, I know I have the opt out, but mentally I'm preparing myself to be here for 2 years, and whatever happens after that happens. And so, you know, when we opt out, now I'm relying on the information given to me by Scott and his team to help us decide, hey, what's the best move, what's the best decision going forward. And so we landed on accepting the qualifying offer.
When they tell you, do you remember where you were when they said, because it's one thing to opt out, but like when they say you've been tagged with the qualifying offer, and how that feels? There's the, like I said before, you're the elite of the elite get offered that. That means that you're good. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You know,
Thanks.
but at the same time, the other flip side of it is, you know, what that does to your market, and you know, and that's why you have to make a decision. When you got that call, were you expecting that you were going to get the qualifying offer, and what was sort of your guttural reaction to it?
Yeah, well, from the business side, you know, if you look at it from Cincinnati's side, you know, offer me the qualifying offer. If I decline it, they get a draft pick, and if I accept it, they get me back, which they, you know, they're prepared for that decision, right? They're not just going to offer it. You know, you'd have to ask them if they thought I was going to decline it, or, you know, obviously I accepted it now, but that'd be a question for them if they thought by extending it, if I was really going to accept it. And so, you know, there is, you know, the business side is, it affects your market, right? Because, you know, at my age, especially if I'm 34, I'm going to be 35 in August. You know, attaching a draft pick and losing international money at my age may not, you know, could turn some teams off. So that plays into decision making, right? Like for other teams and whether they want to sign me and lose that draft pick and some international money. And so for us, it was pretty, you know, or I'm sorry, going back to that, like going into that market, if we would have declined it, would have left a lot of unknowns, right? And so that's like, you know, that kind of leaves a little bit of a sticky area, and ultimately, really having $21 million on the table, and then or exploring the unknowns, like both good problems to have, right? We just felt like with the information that we were getting with Scott and his team, it was smarter for us to take to accept the qualifying offer. And again, like I said, I was mentally, I'm going to be there for 2 years, and so I just got a raise for my second year, and I'm going to be with a group of guys that I loved playing, and a group of guys that I believe in, and so it was, you know, for me, it was not a problem at all. I was like, all right, let's take this and let's
Did
see what this year brings us.
again like that? I build you up, but did you take it with all the business side? You just laid it out perfectly. But did you take it as a compliment? Like you said,
Yeah, heck yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great compliment.
Yeah, heck yeah, man.
Because a team isn't going to say, hey,
right.
we're going to pay a guy $21 million
Right.
is a lot of money.
Heck yeah, it is.
Especially
Yeah.
considering like what you said, like your journey and what you came from. Again,
Right.
so that would
I've
be
been
sort of
blessed,
my
man.
first
I've been
thing.
very
This is
blessed.
a great compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been blessed, man. I mean, Scott was one that pointed out, man, I made, virtually all my money after the age of 31, which is not how you guys' careers usually go, right? They usually, after 32 is when I made most of my money. So, that's, I mean, that's a, testament to my agent and, I guess all the hard work that I've been putting in.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing. And I can tell you this is that this is when you talk about your age, but Nick, and you're a student of the game, this is the way that things are going now. Whether you want to look at it as production, money, whatever it is, that and insight, information, training, all of this. It's a cliche, but you say, hey, listen, 34 is the new 20, or 24, what is it? 24 is the new 34, whatever it is.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that you have a lot of good years left in you. Like that's,
I feel that I definitely feel that way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, going back to what I said about Kershaw and Verlander. I mean, they've been doing it for such a long time, and they've been putting in the work and taking care of their bodies, and they're still doing it, right? So why can't I, right? Why can't I do that? Granted, injuries do come, it can happen to anybody, but if I can mitigate that as best I could and take care of myself, and I mean, big reason why I use the pulse sleeve and monitor my throws, since 2019. I have every throw I've made is documented, and
can you explain
my
that?
Progression is.
Can you explain the pulse?
Yeah, the pulse is a sleeve with a chip, and it measures, with the speed of your arm in relation to the ground. It measures. It gives you a stress score, and so I use it as a tool to just monitor my workload, and I use it for my progression going into spring training because that's when a lot of injuries happen, right? That guys aren't built up enough, or they threw too much and they get hurt in spring training, and so that's the most common way, the most popular time guys get hurt. And so if I can, mitigate that best as I can, then I'm hopefully put myself in a better spot, and I believe I have. And so, like I said about those other guys, man, if they can do it, if they can, keep doing it and play into year 15 and still put up numbers and pitch really well, why can't I do it at whatever level I'm at, right? Whatever that looks like, whatever my best is, and I'm still searching for it. I'm still scratching the ceiling and trying to bust through that glass ceiling. So, if I can keep getting better and keep pitching and find ways to keep myself, healthy and continue to pitch, man, I'm going to play till they tell me I can't.
So what's the next evolution of you? Like, is it, a one finger crap kicker? I don't know. Like what, you got a new pitch? Or is it just building off of last year?
I think building off. Yeah. I mean, heck, if I can learn a new pitch, one thing I've learned about myself and my mechanics, my anatomy, and how I move, I've pretty much got, as many pitches as I have, right? Throwing a sweeper would be pretty hard for me. I'm sure I can throw one.
But sometimes it just doesn't take. Sometimes
the
sweeper doesn't take for guy. And you don't want to hurt your arm either. Yeah.
Well, and I also don't want to take away from my other pitches. If I develop a sweeper, but then it takes away from my curveball, then I'd rather not throw the sweeper and just continue to use my my curveball and just build off of my year before. I mean, there's always ways to get better, and I think if acknowledging that and finding and working towards that, I think that you can avoid being complacent.
It's a good time to be a Red, man. It's a good.
Tito
call you. You talked to Tito yet?
Yeah. I talked to Tito. We've talked a few times. Yeah.
It's good. It's like this is exciting, man. It's exciting.
Yeah. We were. I mean, my wife obviously, she's paying attention and stuff, and so we threw on the documentary they have on the Red Sox and that run that they did. And my wife in bed was going, man, we got to play for this guy. And this is before I accepted the qualifying offer, right? We were just kind of still deciding on it, right? And on whether we were going to accept or reject it. And we threw it on. We were just watching, and obviously the Reds hired Tito already, and so she's watching. She goes, "Man, this guy's energy is awesome, man. We got to play for this guy." And she liked it a lot. So
can I ask you?
I'm excited.
Can I ask you? This is a cliche question off of what you just said. If this isn't the case, it's fine. Did Terry Francona, being your manager, nudge you toward taking the qualifying offer?
I wouldn't say nudge me, right? But he called me when I opted out and they hired him, and he's like, I don't want to infringe on you, on your free agency. I know you got a decision to make, and you've earned that right, and I want you to do what's best for you. But man, I would love to have you, and I love for you to play with me, and that meant a lot, right? That's pretty cool that you get a call like that from a legendary guy like that. So that was pretty cool, and then when I accepted, he texted me, and we spoke on the phone, and we've spoken a few times. So it's I'm excited. I'm excited to play for him. I'm excited for his energy and to see the standard that he sets.
And you said your wife is like, the guy from the Netflix documentary is on the phone right now. This is insane. It's great.
Yeah, no, she's loving it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you'll have a blast with Tito. He's the best.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
So the last thing is sort of along the lines of it seems like every podcast we've done in the last week, we have mentioned a former teammate of yours, Juan Soto. Tell me about Juan Soto, if you can, like whatever way you can.
Yeah. I mean, he's a gamer, man. I mean, he wants to win, and he wants to be the best, right? I mean, that's a good quality to have from a caliber of that, and from a player of that caliber, right? So, he wants to be the best, and he wants to win. I think that's a pretty dangerous combination.
Yeah, well, it's again, we're just trying to find out as much as we can. So, because
I wish I had something for you guys.
No, it's
Reds
good. It's like this is what the offseason you started the offseason conversation thanks to like what you said. Like it's get the qualifying offer. I remember being we were at the GM meetings in San Antonio when all that stuff comes out. Mm-hmm. And this is the first wave of the offseason of let's play the guessing game of qualifying offers, accepting, not accepting, who's going to get offered it, and everything else. And
right.
And then, but I love that. I love the fact that like you're back, the perception that you had or perspective of I'm with the Reds for 2 years. I got the first year under my belt. I've evolved with the Reds. I feel great. I had a good year. I'm feeling great. I got my deal. I'm heading into second year. I got like it's all. I'm lower the heart rate. I'm getting you jacked up.
That's all right.
You saw?
No. It's, yeah. It's great, right? I mean, it's nice to know where you're going to be, and then now I can plan better. And obviously, with the Reds hiring Tito as quickly as they did, that they're setting the tone for the direction that they're going, and ultimately that's what we want, right? We want a team that's committed to winning. And so as long as they have that commitment, man, it's going to be exciting.
Well, I appreciate you, Nick. I appreciate you jumping on. And we had only talked a couple times, but every time we talked, I really, really value your perspective.
Thank you,
and more. And I will spread the word as much as I can about listen to this guy. I mean, listen, I love good stories, man. Like I love good stories. I love good perspective because a lot of times it's just we need instant gratification, this instant gratification mentality. And
yeah, it's tough.
It's too much. No, it's like, no, work for it.
And
yeah.
Social media. It's poison. It feels good for the moment, but it doesn't really last, right?
No. Actually working hard and paying off. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem, Rob. Thank you.